welcome back to my garden. Now, since my last video I have found a garden design app which I was able to download onto my laptop, and it's enabled me to do a much more precise layout and design for the garden, and a way of visualising it in a much clearer way. So if I show it to anybody, they can see my vision, whereas my hand-drawn plan, you can get the gist of it, but most of the vision is in my head and it's how I see it. So this way I'm able to illustrate exactly what is in my mind and how I want it to look. So I'll show you the new plan in a minute, but I've made a few decisions having done that. And the first one is I've decided I'm not going to use sleepers after all. I had budgeted for them, but it just seems very expensive when I can actually do the same with decking board for much less cost. And then the money I save on that I can put into the planting and all the other sundry items that I might need to get. So that's the first decision I made. The second decision I've made is I'm going to do away with the border that I was going to have once this summer house is moved. I was going to have running along this fence and part way across the back. I was going to have a narrow bordered bed, which was going to have all my fruit trees in. But every time I tried to plan my raised beds, it became a problem because of this border, and because you have to have paths around your raised beds, I was just losing more and more growing space. So I've ditched that idea and I've come up with a completely new idea which I'm much more happier about. So I'm going to have 3 large beds starting up in this corner, going across, meeting with a central path, and then a couple over on the other side, and then when the summer house is moved over there'll be a new patio. But anyway, rather than me just explain it to you, I'll show you the map in a minute. So that's the 2 changes I've made. The other thing is, having now mapped out exactly what I want as my final design, I can install my first raised bed without it impinging on any of the major work that's going to be done. So I have bought some deck boards and I'm going to prepare them and make a raised bed to go directly behind the greenhouse and the new path I created, so that I can get my onion sets in for overwintering. So let me show you my plan. See what you think. So this is the new plan, and as you can see I've got rid of the border that I had intended to have here, and instead I'm going to have these 3 large beds, and the gaps between up at the fence I can put my cordon trees and I can put my fruit bushes along that side. This is the bed I'm going to make now because it's all of this area that's being replaced and the summer house being moved from this side to that side. So this kind of top end of the garden is going to have the most work done. So I've got time and space to put this bed in. So that's what I'm going to do over the next couple of days. So I bought some decking boards today to make my first raised bed, but the first thing I've got to do is paint the insides and the bottom with bitumen, and I'm just doing the pegs. So this is the first one. Okay, I've just given these pegs a second coat. The first coat I did last night, as you saw. So I do it for the second coat, and then if I take you outside, So these 3 boards are going to make the base layer. So I'm going to coat all the insides of those with the bitumen and the bottom edge. That takes 2 to 4 hours to dry, and then I shall cut them to size. As much as I can do today. So I've got the first layer in, and it's all level. I'll show you this. I don't know if you can see that. There is the bubbles in the middle. So what have I got to do now? I've got to cut the remainder of the wood and fix that to the pegs, and then I've got the membrane to fit, and then I'm going to sieve all this soil and take some of the soil from the back and the sides to fill it, because this has got to be lowered because there's going to be a path here before the next bed. I'm pleased with that. I'm going to go and have my dinner now, so I'll show you tomorrow. Having a 5-minute break. I'm exhausted, but the bed is finished. I've lined it all and I'm starting to fill it now. So I'm going to be taking soil from here, because this area here, which is going to be a path, needs to be lowered, so I can pinch some of that soil. And then I've got a bag of farmyard manure and a bag of compost I'm going to chuck in. Then we'll have to go down the garden centre and get some more bags, but we're getting there and I'm pleased with that. I'll come round here where those canes are. That's how wide the path's going to be to get around the back of it, so I need to take that soil out a bit lower, put down some membrane and some gravel. Yeah, it's 2 days work. I'm exhausted, and I'm just thinking I've got another 6 to make. Don't know if I can face it at the moment. I sat down for a coffee, and when I tried to get up, oh my goodness, I know I've overdone it now. I'm absolutely done in. It's all done. I've half filled it. I do still need to go down the garden centre and get some more bags, but I'd forgotten I'd got a big sack of horse manure that a friend gave me, so I can put that in there. I've also got the contents of the compost bin, so I think gradually over the next week I'll be able to fill it right up, then I can get my onions in. And I've put down membrane so I can get some gravel down, and that gravel board is only temporary, just to hold back the soil and a barrier for the gravel that I put down, because this area will be the next bed, but I can't touch any of that now because this is all going to be sort of a busy working area. But I'm getting there.